Hi, and welcome to TXDZNY. On today's show, I'm going to be explaining Genie Plus and all the tips and tricks on how to use it and when it's the best to buy it and not when to buy it. So let's get this started. So, what is Genie? So, Genie is on the My Disney Experience app for Walt Disney World. Um, it's pretty much a must if you're going to Walt Disney World that you need to have this app on your phone. The regular Genie service is a free service. It doesn't allow you to book any rides or anything. It just pretty much gives you tips and stuff like that, and you can um, customize it to certain rides and characters and experiences that you like, but you're not actually skipping lines or anything on anything. It's just kind of giving you a guideline for the day for maybe people who've never been to Disney and they don't want to spend the money on Genie Plus. So that's just regular Genie. That's free. But I want to emphasize that you don't get to skip any lines with that service. So then what is Genie Plus? Genie Plus is a paid per day, per guest experience that Disney offers. It ranges anywhere between $15 and $35 per guest per day. That ranges based on which park you're going to, which time of the year, all those things. Obviously, the more crowded times, it's going to be more expensive. The more popular the park, the more expensive. So, for example, we went during our last two trips were over the time between Christmas and New Year's. It was pretty much at max price those days, and we just went for early part of spring break. It wasn't quite maxed out, but it was still on the more expensive side. So think about when you're going, and you can kind of gauge where to be between the $15 and $35 range. It's normally a good way to plan it is always plan on it being somewhere between about $25 and $30 uh, per person per day. So how does this compare to how Disney used to do things with Fast Pass? So Fast Pass obviously was free. I think we all can agree that we all miss Fast Pass, mainly because it was free, right? So, but those days are long gone. That's never coming back. Disney's never going to offer anything for you to skip lines for free ever again. That's long been gone. In fact, it was quite surprising that it lasted as long as it did because you look at somewhere like Universal Studios and they charge way more than Disney does to skip lines for a day. So that service will never be returning. I think also another thing that gets lost when people just say, "Oh, I like the free service of Fast Pass." It wasn't, and you got the three rides. Um, if you remember, the rides were tiered on there, so it wasn't like you could just go to Hollywood Studios and go on your three favorite rides. You only get to really choose one of the top tier rides, and then the other ones after. They wouldn't just be like you could just go there and ride on anything. So Magic Kingdom wasn't tiered, but Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom were. So it wasn't as simple as, oh, I just get it and can ride on everything that I want. So what also Walt Disney World offers is these individual lightning lanes, which is one ride at each park, two at Magic Kingdom, where it's an additional fee to skip the line on that individual ride. Right now in March of 2024 at Magic Kingdom, that's for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and Tron. At Epcot, it's going to be Guardians of the Galaxy. At Hollywood Studios, it's Rise of the Resistance. And Animal Kingdom, it's Flight of Passage. Now, that's always kind of changing. You can bet that probably when Tiana's Bayou Adventure opens up this summer, that's going to be added to it. I don't know if they're going to take Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or Tron out of it, or maybe they just have three over there. Who knows? But whatever the newest ride is normally going to be what's added to that individual lightning lane. And those prices, just like Genie Plus, will vary based on crowds, time of the year, and everything like that. And it's a per person per day. You can do two individual lightning lanes per day if you're park hopping. So it's not like if you want to go to all four parks in one day, you can just sit there and do an individual lightning lane for the lightning lane on each park. You'd have to choose your two. So that's a little tip there. Something to note when you're buying Genie Plus, if you are choosing to buy Genie Plus for that day, it goes on sale at midnight of the day that you're going. So if you're someone who goes to bed late, which isn't me, I'm normally so beat after a whole day at Disney. I'm crashed out before midnight. So I'll normally wake up, whenever I wake up sometime in the middle of the night, I'll just quickly go and purchase the 4 Genie Pluses for me, my wife, and my 2 kids. to make sure I get it, because during crowded times, Genie Plus can sell out. It's not total like very very often, but if you're going during those Christmas, Thanksgiving, spring break times like that, holiday weekends, it can sell out, especially at like Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, the parks that you see Genie Plus a little bit more frequent. Um, so don't always wait till right before 7 a.m. to buy Genie Plus. And so that's what it is. At 7 a.m. is when you can make your first Genie Plus selection. And so you have to purchase it beforehand. And then when 7 a.m. hits Eastern time is when you can make your first Genie Plus for the day. So Disney themselves, when they advertise Genie Plus, they say that you're only guaranteed 2 rides for that day. Now, if you go and you've used Genie Plus and you try to maximize it, you generally know that you're going to get a lot more than that. But that's way of Disney's way of guaranteeing that they're not promise you anything more than that. So no, when it's during crowded times, you're not going to be able to maximize it than you are in the lower times. To circle back to the individual lightning lanes, so resort guests can book those individual lightning lanes at 7 a.m. When you purchase the Genie Plus, you can purchase beforehand, and then you can't book anything till 7 a.m. With the individual lightning lanes, you can't purchase it until 7 a.m. And immediately you can go and pick your time once you purchased it. And then if you're not a resort guest, it's at park opening. So let's say, Epcot opens at 9 and you're staying offsite, or you're a local or something, you do have to wait until 9 a.m. to purchase that individual lightning lane. Generally speaking, even during crowded times, you should be okay with still getting pretty much every ride that you want to get on with the individual lightning lane. So now I want to talk about how's the best way to maximize when you're buying Genie Plus, because you are spending a lot of money on it. Just to give you a ballpark, and I'm a family of 4 and I'm spending $25 a day. That's $100 a day. If I'm doing a 5-day trip, that's $500 extra dollars for my Disney vacation just for the Genie Plus. Factor in maybe, well, me and my wife will try to mix and match some of them Genie Pluses, or maybe only one of us go on the rides with the kids. Maybe both my kids don't want to go on the rides. So let's even just factor another $40 a day for individual lightning lanes. So now you're up at like $700 total for additional to your trip just for those skipping the lines. But we budget for that because we know that that's what we like doing rather than sitting in lines all day, especially with little ones. So how are some ways that you can maximize that Genie Plus? There's several different ways to do it. One way is a way that we really only do when we're doing pool days or something like that. And that is what we call, and a lot of people call, stacking. So how it works with Genie Plus is, let's say I purchased my Genie Plus at 3 a.m. I woke up in the middle of the night, purchased it, and at 7 a.m. I made my first Genie Plus selection. So I got that ride for, if I know I'm going to do a pool day and a relaxed day, let's say I made it at 3. So I made that at 3. So how it works then is you can stack rides every 2 hours from when the park opens. So that's why I'm doing it at Epcot. And so at Epcot, park opens at 9. So then at 11, I can make a whole new Genie Plus selection. So let's say I made my first one for Ratatouille at 3 o'clock. Then when 11 o'clock comes around, I can go ahead and make one for Frozen at, let's say, 4 o'clock. And then when 1 o'clock comes around, maybe I can make it for Soarin' for 5 o'clock. And then so on and so on. Every 2 hours, you can sit there and do it until when you get into the park. And then you have like 4 or 5 rides stacked. So when you're walking into the park at 3 o'clock, it's not you just using them. You right awake in a matter of a few hours, you have Ratatouille, Soarin', Frozen, Test Track, and you can sit there and go walk on the other rides. That's a good way to maximize your day with still being able to relax in the morning. And they call that stacking those. In some parks, it's a little bit harder because some of the really popular attractions will sell out pretty early for the whole day early. So it's not bulletproof where you're gonna sit there and for sure get everything if you do it that way. But because sometimes by the time you're getting to 1 o'clock trying to book a ride for 6 o'clock or something like that, there's pretty much nothing available. But if you're going in a lower crowded time, you should be able to stack and get a lot of the rides that you want. It's best to stack at Magic Kingdom because there's so many different rides. There'll be rides available for you in the evening because there's just so many rides there. Now, the more common way that we do our Genie Plus is trying to rope drop. So, um, the best way that I can explain this is a good example is a park like Hollywood Studios. So if I go to Hollywood Studios and they're opening at 9 a.m. and I'm a resort guest, so I can go in there at 8:30. But at 7, I can go ahead and purchase my I could already purchase my Genie Plus and my individual Lightning Lane. So let's say at 7 a.m. I go on and I purchase Tower of Terror for 9 a.m. And then right away I go and purchase Rise of the Resistance for, let's just say, 3 p.m. You get to kind of pick your time. I'm just trying to not stack too much stuff in the morning, so I'm going to go put in the afternoon so I have some rides later in the afternoon. So I can go walk in and rope drop that park, being a resort guest where it's 30 minutes earlier than when everybody else gets to go in. And I can just, as soon as I walk in, go over to Slinky Dog as fast as I can. Don't get sidetracked by taking pictures. Go get a cup of coffee and just go there and make the mission to get on Slinky Dog. I guarantee you won't have to wait more than 15, 30 minutes to ride Slinky Dog. And if I would have at 7 a.m. maybe tried to get Slinky Dog, by the time I got through my app, it maybe wouldn't let me get Slinky Dog Genie Plus until, let's say, like noon, which means now I can't cancel out that Genie Plus because as soon as you ride a ride, you can book yourself a new one. Now I can't cancel that out all the way until noon, where you want to try to get those rides that you can cancel out early. So if I go and can ride Slinky Dog at park opening, just walking on with a minimal wait, and I'm getting the most popular ride kind of there out of the way. And now I can go ride Tower of Terror at 9 a.m. and I'm canceling out my Genie Plus, and I can right away. Let's say I go and book right after that Mickey's Runaway Railway for I'm canceled out of. I go and book it at 9:30 to 10:30. So I could right out after I get out of Tower of Terror, go hop on Mickey's Runaway Railway. Let's say I check in that ride at 9:45. Now I can go and check into Toy Story Mania. Maybe Toy Story Mania is 10:30 to 11:30. And now you're seeing how the trend. I'm going on these rides and booking them right after each other, and I'm able to go on 5, 6 rides in the morning rather than maybe just booking the number one ride that I want, and it's not till later in the day. So always try to pick that first Genie Plus ride. Prioritize it by what's a ride that you really want to go on and one that's available to you as close to park opening, so you can cancel it out and go book a new one. Otherwise, you're just kind of sitting there in limbo for a little while, where if the park opens at 9 and you can't even book your next one till 11, so you're sitting there either just trying to wait online. You purchase Genie Plus and you're waiting on lines all morning because you didn't use your Genie Plus until the afternoon. So try to maximize it by getting everything done early in the morning. At parks like Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, it's the easiest to do that. We don't always purchase Genie Plus. I'd say 90+% of the time do. It all depends on the time of the year and stuff that we're going. I do say it's a must for us, at least at Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. We always purchase it when we go to those two parks. I feel like that's where you maximize it the most. Epcot, we still purchase it every time, but we do see that there is sometimes where maybe it wasn't worth the money that we spent and it didn't help us too much. Maybe it's because the wait times weren't actually that bad, but really only saved us, a little bit of time by sitting there again to go on things early in the morning. We still purchase it, but the park that is where you really need to think about how you're going to do the day is Animal Kingdom and see if it's worth it. Being that Flight of Passage is an individual Lightning Lane, that's not going to be including in Genie Plus, so you're going to have to purchase Flight of Passage separate. And since Animal Kingdom doesn't have very many rides, you'd be purchasing that Genie Plus for only a few different attractions. So it's hard to justify the money sometimes. Now, Genie Plus is always the cheapest at Animal Kingdom because of this reason. But same thing, like I said, with Hollywood Studios. If you can rope drop Animal Kingdom and maybe right when rope drop happens, go ride the Safari in Everest really, really early in the morning. And what rides do you really have left there besides pretty much, Dinosaur, which is a ride that whole area might be getting redone and rethemed, and that ride might not be uh, even available much longer. With Dinosaur, um, Navi River, and talking a couple other attractions that you'd be using it for. So at Animal Kingdom, it's not always the best park to utilize at Genie Plus. And me and my wife will kind of, before we go to bed, so if one of us is waking up at 7 a.m., normally it's me, I'll go ahead and make all the purchases, but I know what everyone wants to do. I'm not sitting there just kind of going rogue and just trying to choose the day for everyone. Have a game plan, go and talk to, whoever's in your party and kind of prioritize things and explain things. This is where your Disney planning skills get, put into action. Where if someone's like, oh, it's an Epcot day, I really, really, really want to go on Figment. Well, Figment you could generally walk on. So there's no sense of using the Genie Plus and wasting it on a ride like Figment um, when there's so many other attractions that you'd have to wait on a long line for. So it's best to just sit there and be able to talk to your group and kind of get everyone on the same page and have a game plan. So when you're booking things the next day, um, it it you're all on the same page and you're going to maximize that Genie Plus purchase. So we found the best way to work the system is actually for a very short time frame and for a select group of people. And that's if you have kids under 3 or multiple kids under 3 where they're not a paid guest yet. And the best way to work that system is, since they're not a paid guest, they don't have to be included in your Genie Plus purchase for starters, and then your selections. So you can actually do things separate. So me and my wife did this, and we still do it even though our kids are older than 3 now. Sometimes, if we're really trying to maximize the day, say your kids are under 3, where we'll make different Genie Plus selections. Now we frequent the park, so some days are about having family time and being all together, and some days are just trying to do as many rides as we possibly can. So on those days that it's to ride as many rides as we possibly can, this is what we do. We'll separate our Genie Plus selections. So for example, I purchased Genie Plus in the middle of the night, 7 to 8 comes around. I'll go, let's say, purchase, go choose Pirates of the Caribbean. But then I'll have my wife, we're on normal times, we'll just sit there and do it all together. I'll go purchase a different ride for her. When I'm saying purchase, I mean select. Select a different ride for her. So let's say I choose Peter Pan. I both get our time selections right around 9 to 10. 9:05 to 10:05, right around that same window. So when we enter the park, I can go take my kids who are under 3 over to Pirates of the Caribbean, and I can go ride with them while my wife, let's say, goes, has a cup of coffee, go gets kids breakfast, just sits and relax, whatever she cares to do. And then when we get off that ride, now she has her Genie for Peter Pan, so now the kids can go right on to Peter Pan without waiting online. And after I scanned into Pirates of the Caribbean, I can right away make a new Genie Plus as well. And so you see how that trend can go. So then I go after that one. Let's say I purchase then Buzz Lightyear, the shooting game in Magic Kingdom. I go do that. And so when they get off Peter Pan, I could go take my kids over there. And when my wife scans into Peter Pan, she goes and does Little Mermaid, and they all go over there. And then you keep doing that. And before you know, within a few hour time frame, you can go on. I think me and my wife did, I think it was even over Christmas break, went over there. And I think we did like 12 rides in like 3 or 4 hours there, really maximizing the day. And that's still with us going. I think we went to the Polynesian midday and hung out by the pool and still had some Genie Pluses for later in the day. We really, really maximized the day during a crowded time. But the drawback of that is me and my wife that day never got to go on any rides with the kids. But, we do that plenty of times, and we have other days we try to do 2 parks, do each park twice for a lot of our visits. So try to mix and match it, where maybe one day is more ride focus and the other one's more, just family time or whatever everyone craves for that. And you can even take that logic into when your kids are older than 3. Especially if you have kids who are into different things. Let's say you have, let's say my daughter loves thrill rides and my son doesn't. They both happen to like thrill rides, but just for the case of explaining this, I'll do that. So let's say my me and my wife both like thrill rides, but we can mix and match days. So maybe my daughter really wants to go on Tower of Terror, but my son doesn't. So rather than putting all four of us on Tower of Terror and kind of holding my daughter or my son back because he doesn't like thrill rides, I can go and separate our party into like two and two and do it that way, where maybe while we're doing Tower of Terror, they go do Mickey's Runaway Railway, and then kind of do that. And then you could still at the end of, sometime during the day when your Genie Pluses are canceled out, you can always join back together. It's not like once you've gone separate for the day, you're separate for the whole day. You guys are both, when the whole party's available to make another, you can always link right back up. So there are ways to work the system a little bit, and it's not doing anything that's not allowed. It's just knowing the nuances of the Genie Plus system to try to maximize your day, if it is to try to get as many rides as you can. For that, after all, you are spending a pretty penny on that Genie Plus service, so a lot of people want to maximize it. So those are just a couple different ways that you can do that with kids that allows you to go on as many rides as you can. And once again, we get the best use out of those is at Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studio Days, because they have a lot more rides that do all kind of have decent wait times. Another huge must, I must say, before I wrap this up, is do not waste your Genie Plus, even if it's a ride that you really want to go on rides that do not have long wait times. And be wasting your Genie Pluses. And that's when you're never going to feel like you got your money's worth out of your Genie Plus. I said earlier in the video, like for an example at Epcot, don't, when you wake up at 7 a.m., don't make it for Figment, Spaceship Earth, Nemo ride, stuff like that. Those rides will be there all day for Genie Plus, and a lot of them you could just walk on, don't even bother Genie Plus in them. Same could be said, for a few rides at Hollywood Studios, Star Tours, and some of those rides, don't waste them. Or Magic Kingdom, a lot of times early in the mornings, Little Mermaid doesn't have a long wait time. Some rides like Aladdin's, Magic Carpets don't have long wait time. Don't waste your Genie Pluses on rides that don't have long wait times. So many of those rides you don't need the Genie Plus for, or do you really want to use your Genie Plus for that? Or unless it's a ride that you just absolutely love or your kid absolutely loves, try to use it for those rides that I think in general a lot of people just know are more popular rides. And the best way to think of it is, what are the rides that have the longest wait times? Are going to be the ones that you want to use them on. So don't waste your Genie Plus, because if you're sitting there doing it on the lower level rides, by the time you use all your lower level rides, all the high level rides, Genie Pluses for the day are going to be gone, and then you're going to feel like you wasted your money on your Genie Plus purchase. I'll wrap this up by saying that I know Genie Plus is expensive. And I totally understand that people don't want to spend the money on it, and they go back to saying that Fast Pass was free and all that, but those days are long gone, and quite frankly, a free service to skip lines anymore at Disney World isn't going to happen. If you look at Universal and a lot of other big theme parks, Six Flags, they've been doing paid skip lines for a very long time, and quite frankly, way more expensive than Disney World. So Disney was actually behind the times on it, and they're actually still cheaper than those other amusement parks. So if you do want to skip lines, you're just going to have to get used to paying for that Genie Plus prices. I do think it'll get altered over the years as to what it includes, but as of right now, it's a pretty much a one at a time type service. I always say try to budget for it. We budget for it every trip. Like I said, if I'm doing a 5-day trip and I'm a family of four, and I know with my Genie Plus and my individual Lightning Lane, it's going to cost me right around $750, give or take a little bit. So I know that, and so I budget for it. I'm not going to go there and be like, oh, that's almost $1,000 of my budget that I planned at Disney World is gone now. You're trying to not get as much souvenirs, or being careful what you're eating and drinking and all this other stuff. Just plan in advance. That means having to push a trip back a month or two to save a little bit more, or it means maybe not having to get as many, or maybe not eat a couple, sit down dinners, so be it. We just did that our last trip. We had a few sit down dinners, and we decided, hey, we want to maximize our money in some other ways. So we didn't do very many sit down dinners our last visit because we wanted to make sure we got our Genie Plus lightning lanes and got the kids souvenirs and all these other things that they wanted. So each trip's a little bit different. So budget for it. That's the best way I can plan for it. Otherwise, I really hate seeing that people, they come back. I can't tell you how many people come back and they're like, oh, I had a miserable trip at Disney World. I sat in the flight of passage line for 2 hours. Then I did this. And then when I was at Magic Kingdom, I rode only like 4 rides the whole day. And this is because you start thinking sometimes it's only just, it might be a couple. And I was like, just for like $675 more, you could have sat there and done almost everything in the whole entire park. And to see these people act like they had an awful Disney experience when just for $75 for the day, and if they were going for 3-4 days, you're talking $300. I know $300 is $300, but for it to make you say that your Disney trip wasn't very fun, $300 is well worth it to totally do a 180 and say it was one of your best trips ever because you sat there and got to skip lines on everything. So it's a good way of thinking about it. So those are your tips, tricks, and explanations on how Genie Plus and the individual lightning lane works. What I didn't touch on, which I do want to quickly, is that when you're going on the rides, where you go into the rides always says individual. It's very, very confusing system because the service on the app that's free is Genie, and then what you're purchasing is Genie Plus. But what it is on each ride is a lightning lane, but it's actually part of Genie Plus. And then what you're purchasing on top of that is an individual lightning lane, which is what those 1 ride and 2 rides at Magic Kingdom are for each park. So it's kind of so what I just kind of say is instead of saying every ride is a lightning lane, which that's how it's listed at every ride, you're going on Haunted Mansion, you're going on that line, it says lightning lane. And I still call it the Genie Plus line because it gets very confusing when you're calling it the lightning lane when in fact your lightning lane rides at Magic Kingdom are Tron and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. So I just kind of, the way people verbalize things is a little bit different. That's the way I do. I just say the Genie Plus attractions and then the individual lightning lane attractions. But when you're going on the rides, the line for you to go on is the lightning lane line. It won't be a Genie Plus line. It'll say lightning lane line. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So I want to thank you guys for watching this video. I hope it helps you out in deciding if you want to buy or not purchase Disney Plus. We're big advocates of purchasing it. So I hope this video helps you out, and thank you for watching. Thank you. Like and subscribe. Bye.